What up, Longhairs? Welcome to episode 120 of Let It Ride. Here we talk long hair and business, advocate for hair equality, and celebrate men's long manes with hair whips and, of course, high fives. If you're a guy with long hair, you're in the right place. Today at the Longhairs HQ, we are plugged in through the digital waves. I'm El Garvinsky, media producer of the Longhairs and host for today's episode. Our guest today is a long-haired, self-taught hybrid expert mastering the sciences of calisthenics and nutrition, delivered with a philosophical touch. His mission and goal is to help people cultivate long-term fitness and health with calisthenics. You may have seen his glorious flow and work featured in the New York Times, Insider, Newsweek, and more. He is the founder of Hybrid Calisthenics, a fitness brand and YouTube channel where their motto is, "You can." He's also a certified fitness trainer, philosopher, and entrepreneur. Joining us live via satellite from Arkansas, he is Hampton Liu.
Yeah, training for myself. Woo!
Welcome to the show, man. Dude, don't worry, I got the horns and everything going on.
Okay, cool. We got it.
Coincidentally, I just want to throw this out there. Coincidentally, at the time of this recording, it is 120 as well, January 20th, and this episode is 120 right now.
Nice.
You can't get any more coincidental. So, getting right into it, dude. One of the things that caught my eye and why I started following your channel, you have an authenticity about your content where it's very inviting, where you try to get everybody to embrace fitness. You create it with open doors. And not only that, you provide the science for everybody in a digestible way.
I like talking about this because this is one of those things where you don't really recognize some things about yourself until other people say it about you. And I'm not saying that other people's opinions solely define you, but I didn't really have this reputation or opinion of myself that I was nicer or even particularly nicer or more inviting than other people. So what I really did was I just started talking about fitness. It's something I enjoy and I want to talk about. Now, I don't want to exclude people, but that's not, for me, that's not a big hurdle to overcome. For me, it's just, this is how I would want to learn, which is I want the best for myself and I want the best for others. With others, they don't quite know me that well. So I'm just like, hey, I just want to talk about this. If I, and I don't want to be elitist about that. There are some people who just want to be yelled at. It's fine, right? So I mean, no, and I mean that in a good way. They want a coach that yells at them, but because they know that coach has their best interests. But for me, I just started talking. I never planned it out. This is how I want to learn. That's what motivates me. So that's really what shaped the branding so much. Where it's like, yeah, you can do this. Try it out.
Going back to how you want for everyone else what you want for yourself. It actually takes me back to community. There's a little parallel with our brand.
Okay, so that's interesting. So community used to be something I talked about a lot early on, probably because a lot of the inspirations I had as I started content creation. And I started noticing, I noticed I use it less nowadays. Like if I did an interview for like that everyone would see in the world in 2020, I just talk about community. It'd be nonstop. You guys would be bored about it. But it's become some like kind of a buzzword, I guess, where everyone's like, oh, let's build community. If you get into my content a little bit and I don't really explicitly say it that often, but there's a vibe that I just want to help. And if I told people I'm not really here just to make money, I feel like people would believe me. However, early on, between like 2018 and 2020, that was when I was taking care of my mother a lot. I was taking care of her full time. It was 24/7.
Right.
She had a stroke in 2018 and I was her full-time caretaker. And I've told this story a few times before, but if any of you are ever in that situation, you go through some stages, and I hope none of you really go through it. It was transformative for me, but it was ultimately, I think it's fair to describe it as a traumatic experience. You go through some stages where it's like, well, this is my family and loved one. I want to do anything. I want them to have the best. I want just chuck it all at them, whatever gives them the best chance. And you should absolutely do that. It's a good idea. However, after the adrenaline wears off a little bit, and this is like a period over weeks sometimes or months, you're like, some of this stuff is costing quite a bit. Okay, and I had to work from home. Like I graduated from college. By the way, I went to San Diego State for a while. Yeah, so
nice.
I went to college and I was gonna have this like business career or whatever. I don't know, but I couldn't do any of that really from home. And this was like 2018, 2019, where working from home wasn't as commonplace as it was after 2020, obviously from lockdown
Right.
and everything. So it really started as an idea of like me expressing some passions I had online. I had no idea of like content monetization, how it worked. You can watch videos about it, but you don't really feel it until you actually do it. So I said, well, it was really from like, I need to find a way to make some money from home. And then doing some research on it, I was like, oh, looks like I can make content, and that would be a start. So I just started talking about something I was interested in. It could have been a lot of different things, but thankfully I settled on fitness and started expanding upon that from like physical fitness, mental fitness, and so on. And just to touch upon the topic we started with, it's a little bit of a different answer, I would say, if we honed in on that. But starting locally, I mean, has a different connotation online than it does in person, right? Like starting locally really would be like if I held classes here, and we did some Tai Chi classes, but that was my family's thing around here, separate from hybrid calisthenics. It has a different connotation in the sense that as you develop a community around your work, whether it's a cult or a community, I really try to make it about other people, and helping other people. But you'll notice that you have your core, like nucleus, that really likes everything you do. Then there's like the casual listeners and so on and so forth. And I used to all be about like, well, you know what? I'm just going to serve like the 1,000, 10,000, however many people that really like my stuff, that would watch just about anything I do. If I said, hey, I have this new coffee brand, this is not yet out yet, so don't get too hyped. Okay, I have this coffee brand, it's really good, I worked really hard on it. It's like there's like protein, and like I like work with a scientist that could like we use a special kind of water that can reverse brain injury or something. That's awesome. And then like if I told you that and I was honest about it, people would buy me. Wow, that's great. I used to only want to serve them, but now I'm like, you know what? We can do different things that touch upon different people. And it used to be like a ripple effect. It's like I'll serve my core community. I'll be a good friend to them before looking for other friends. But now I'm like, I want to serve my core community. I also want to serve the people who don't really quite know everything about this yet. And I'm like, hey, I understand your hesitancy. Anytime someone said they just want to help, I'm like, yeah, sure. Sure, you just want to help, right? It's like, yeah, just help yourself from my wallet is what you want, right? And so, we have to go through that with, in my opinion, if we are entrepreneurs, content creators, we should approach that with some empathy. This is kind of like feeding a stray animal, where a lot of like cats or dogs are on a street. You notice a lot of them are scared. They're hungry, but they're scared of you. And it used to annoy me. I'm like, dude, I turned my car around because it's 20 degrees and I'm feeding you this piece of meat. Okay, like why are you acting like
why? Yeah,
right. But you know what? It's fair because that's what they know. Okay, it's like that's how they stayed alive. Is because yes, I don't want to hurt them, but 90% of the things they met in life want to hurt them. So if you're a brand, if you are or any kind of like personality online, people don't trust you. I think we should have a little bit of empathy towards that because yes, you are the person that actually wants to feed them. But the rule that they've accomplished or they've noticed is that a lot of people don't actually just want to feed them; they want to take from them. They thankfully with humans, it's only taking money and not stray animals can be eaten.
Have you seen the movie Enter the Dragon?
Oh, if I did, it was a long time ago.
Okay, well, there's a scene where Bruce Lee is, riding a boat. He's about to head to an island with a martial arts tournament, and there's other martial arts on there. And there's this guy who was asking him, like, "Hey, what's your fighting style?" And he answers that guy. He says, "Oh, my style? It's the you could call it the art of fighting without fighting." And so, in your case, you're doing the art of selling without selling, and it's very genuine. You put a lot of it in your coaching and your product reviews. Now you recently come up with your own products. You're basically always looking out for your peeps.
That's a couple things to touch upon there. So that's neat that you compared to Bruce Lee. That's changed a little bit. I still want but if I explain it, I think it'd only be in a good way. I think people would only understand it in a good way if they understood it. Because I'm sure, as you know, as someone who's involved in a business, there are some ways you can go above and beyond with your products.
No doubt.
Right. And so it's interesting. So I sell fitness equipment, but that's almost like a thing it's on the side. And I had to come to this realization a while ago. This is, part of me being a younger businessman in the sense that business is relatively new. I I was like, I'm running this like I'm a fitness equipment business, which I might have thought that's how hybrid calisthenics would be. But like, who in the community thinks like, oh yeah, he's the guy who sells fitness equipment? No, like it's just like he's the guy who does the videos, he does the guy who does information. So we're helping people on a journey, who want to be on fitness if they want, right? So because some people are just there, just to hang out. I did a survey in our community a while ago, and there were two options. It's like, are you here for fitness or are you here just to hang out? And two options were fitness, yeah. And the second part was I came because I thought they were free chicken nuggets, and it was 50-50. Okay, so it was 50-50. So like 50 people were only there for free chicken nuggets. So whatever.
They were there, man. They were there.
Right. So that's when I started. Like, I recently we're publishing a book, and I'm really excited about that. And I realized I was more excited about these things than I was about things like gym rings, and because those were good, and I was like, yeah, I don't want gimmicky products. I don't want, and I want to offer affordable products, high quality. But while I'm still interested in that, and I think it's a valuable service, at some point I wanted to create something that was really cool, right? It was like, yeah, like you see the gym rings, like I went through, like I spent a lot of money looking for the best manufacturer. I'm like, I want to tweak the width of it. That's cool. It's still a wooden circle. Okay, it's a wooden circle. Okay, and if there was a way to better improve it that I thought was worth it, I would try that. And I am phrasing it carefully because I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. Because I thrive better, as you may have noticed, with conversations where people can be like, well, what do you mean by this? I'm like, sorry, I was unclear there. This is what I meant. But it was really, I still like fitness products, but it just got to a point where, finding and honing simple products was, I was like, I want to create something that's like information based. I was like, we can do it like an app. We can do a book. We'll still do fitness products. We'll still make like, if pull-up bars are like, if I can't find a good one, then I'll consider making one. If I can find a good design, I'm like, yeah, make this, go to manufacturer, just tweak it a little bit. And they're like, okay, cool. And that's often all like for some fitness products, that's all you need. You can really like reinvent the wheel. But for some, that's all you need. But while that's cool, I really wanted to do something where it was creative. I was like, you know what if we make like a really like, so with the magic of technology and AI and all of that around, how can we put that into an app that people would like? By the way, the app isn't even out. So like if anyone's listening to this, like, he's gonna sell me an app, it's not even out. Okay, so nothing to buy. Okay, so just
you're really building the tension here. There's a lot of like not coming out products. Like we got a book, I believe, right? And then
right. I can show you right now.
Dude, super exciting.
Right. So like this is the book. Actually, see, I don't do a lot of podcasts nowadays. I used to do a lot more, but I love to do them. I love chatting with people and networking, and just connecting with people and listening to their stories. But I don't have as much time anymore. And today's the day where actually I was going to pre-launch this. I was going to send out an email, and when you said, yeah, we can do something on Friday, I'm like, I got time before I do that. I got time before I send the email. So
perfect time and place to reveal the book.
So we're touching a little bit upon business here. So really, here's the simple way to look at it. It's really identifying the people who watch my content and are part of our community and part of our audience. It's like, what can I do to help that person? Okay, because there's a little bit of a disconnect, because if I had heard this early on, I would have had some questions about it. But after you reach a certain point in business, not that I'm very big at all, after you reach a certain point, it's less about like, I need to do this to make money, and more about how do I want to do that, right? Money is important in the sense that you need to pay your bill. It's stressful not to be able to pay your bills. That's why it's stressful to do that. So yeah, 100%. But it's gotten to a point to where it's just like, we can make money in many different ways. Right, we can sell courses. We can I can do like training things. Like there are a lot of different things.
100%.
100%. And I'm very blessed to be able to do that. I'm, thank you so much, to everyone. But it's like, what can I do to actually help someone along the way? Right? It's just providing for one person. That's cool. Providing for a family. That's even better. But for providing for a lot of people on this journey, that's really what I'm sculpting right now. And it took me a while to be okay with the idea of like, some things I need to grow the business in order to build. Right. If I want to spend $500,000 developing this like really advanced web app, okay, it's hard to do that making minimum wage or whatever, right? There are some
That's
things
right.
like we have to grow the company, but grow in a way that makes everyone happy. One of the things that you said about selling without selling, one of the biggest compliments I ever get, people aren't even aware of, is Hampton, please sell something. And I'm like, yes, thank you, because I do sell stuff, but they're not even aware of it, And I'm very happy with that because it means I have targeted it enough to where only people who want it have heard about it and got it. Okay, and other people, they enjoy the free stuff. It's like, so there you go. And people sometimes are guilty. They're like, well, I got all this stuff for free. I'm like, you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay. Yeah. It's only here if you need to. It's only here because some people don't even need me. Some people are, they're happy with their fitness plan. They're happy with their mind. They're happy with everything. Even if they like me as a person, I have some good friends who don't even watch my content. They're just like, yeah, I have the good for you. But just, they don't need me. So, so that's totally fine. But if you're here, I want to be able to provide you something. If it's something I can do for free, that's something I've learned is that there are some things you can give out pretty much for free, or it's like ad run, and people don't even know that it's making money. I love that stuff because it also grows the company. And there's some stuff that's a little bit harder. So
in your content, besides having calisthenics material, you also touch upon mental health topics. Is that the reason why you call your brand Hybrid Calisthenics?
So it's interesting because after you have a name, you can spin it in many different ways. I think sometimes like a musician will write a song. And
yes.
Like, what's it about? And they're like, yes, because it's whatever you want it to be about. So Hybrid Calisthenics, originally, I gotta say, the reason I picked that name in particular, there's different reasons. The strongest driving reason was because the domain name wasn't taken. Okay,
snap!
Right, because it wasn't. Because I at the time I was like, well, I want like body, like I thought it was gonna be a blog, so I was like bodyweightfitness.com. That'd be the perfect one. Nowadays, I'm like, I would give that out. So I decided, and I mean, no, if you own bodyweightfitness.com, and I'm sure someone does, that's fine. It's not what I would want because I want something that it's a little bit different, and that was something to where it's like I thought Apple didn't really have a significance to technology, and now it's one of the biggest words you can associate with technology.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's the brand is whatever you give it. So I might as well use something that wasn't taken. Looking back, I probably would have picked something even more unique, just because it's something like this. I had to like my own word. But as far as mixing into mental health stuff, it's just like how people said that I seemed nice. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know. I didn't. I didn't really think about that. I just made videos about things I wanted to talk about.
Right.
So I mean, my focus has shifted and honed and not narrowed, but I'm a little bit more clear on it now. So like content won't be as all over the place as it was early on, but it's always been about, I've always included an element of mental health, a little bit of just talking about philosophy and because it's what I enjoy. And it's one of those, and a lot of the YouTubers, which are not, I'll tell you the names, are not entirely, not at all fitness based, that inspired me. A lot of them just talked about things. And I always admired that ability to where they could just talk for several minutes or an hour and just go on and on. And have it be interesting. And back when I was starting this out, like you said, like I do want to help other people, but on it, like starting out, I just wanted a way to pay my bills, and I had no idea how this was gonna pay my bills. It was part of me just being excited about it. I'm like, yes, I just want to do it, but I wanted a way to pay my bills, and I need to be able to do it in like 20 or 30 minutes of free time a day, including editing. So that's, what's that going to be? And I mean, well, I can be very efficient with my time, but there are some videos you just can't do in 30 minutes. Like sometimes it takes 30 minutes to film. So I was like, well, I can just talk for a while. I think I'd plan it out because I can plan out all the content in my head early on. Okay, and then when I hit record, I'm like, here's what I have to say. Not that it's scripted, but I just like kind of align myself, and turns out people like that, and I'm very honored with that. And it's just me sharing things that have helped me, some mistakes I've made, some lessons I've learned from mistakes, and hopefully it can help other people. So that's two slightly different answers, but I'm glad that it worked with the name Hybrid Calisthenics.
Brad, man, genius moves. Besides the name, I love the motto that you emphasize, which is you can when it comes to health and fitness. Given so many options out there to exercise, are you set on calisthenics being a great recommendation for a large number of people?
I literally, I don't know if you can find someone who's more biased than I am. Okay, so
I'm next to you on that one, man.
Right. So yeah, I do recommend it. I do recommend it, and I mean, especially if you are someone who's not completely happy with their fitness, because after you spend a certain amount of time pursuing physical fitness, whether it's weights, barbells, kettlebells, yoga, whatever, you start to realize there's many different ways to get what you want. When you understand how the body works, your body doesn't understand the resistance of a barbell or your own body weight. And then even more so, when you're like, oh, well, like this is how I grow the muscle, this is how I make it stronger. Our muscles don't necessarily understand angles in that sense. They follow something called the all or none law, in which the muscle fibers, I should say, either contract or they don't. They don't. The angles is just.
I hope I've been following that law all these years, man. So far, it's been working out.
Right. So you're like, well, you can actually. All you need is suitable resistance. So you can twist your body, like it's something like an arm. There you could bend your body in different ways to where, there's a little bit more resistance here, and it's enough. And I don't know if there's a person on Earth who is beyond that, because there are some push-up variations that nobody on Earth can do, or I should say, I haven't seen on the video yet. So like that, and I mean, like if you want to say, well, what about pure pushing strength? Wouldn't barbell bench pressing be better? I mean, if you want to bench press, there's slightly different skills. So all of that is to say that I would recommend it, at least trying it. Getting up to, I'm just debating whether or not to add some like general standards. Like it'd be cool if I could get everyone up to like 20 push-ups or like 20 leg raises, 50 squats or something. And I'm hesitant because some people are in different situations. Some people might have some kind of autoimmune disease to where they can't do that. I don't want to be like, well, you're below standard. So it's not that. But I also recognize that some people, they want something to shoot for. It's like, oh, this is like, if I call it like the hybrid standard or something, hybrid, normal person, and I think just building up to the body weight basics and not really overthinking of like what's optimal, of like, oh, if I went to the gym and did this and ate exactly this way for the rest of my life, which you're not going to do for the rest of your life. Everyone changes. I shouldn't say
evolving, adapting.
Yeah,
yes.
You might be one of the very, very rare people who stick to the exact fitness routine and never change for the rest of your life. Mazel tov.
That's actually the situation that I'm in, except for I like to add some variance in my routines so that my body gets some challenges. Now, prior to watching your content, I've never heard of progressive calisthenics. It sounds pretty straightforward, but it also sounds like it's on the next level. Progressive calisthenics. Can you walk us through that idea?
Okay, so progressive calisthenics is just the idea that there are ways to progress and regress different exercises.
Yes.
Body weight exercises in this case. If I were writing a textbook, I don't know if that would be the definition, but that's how I'm describing it right now. So just to give a very concrete example, you think of a push-up, possibly the world's most famous exercise. Okay, so like you think of a push-up, everyone has that in their mind, whether it's feet apart, feet together, whatever. You basically have an idea of how a push-up looks. And progressive calisthenics breaks that down and say, well, there's actually many different types of push-ups. Some are very easy. Some are relatively difficult. So like the wall push-up, doing a push-up against a wall, some people might consider it too easy, whereas people are like, oh, that's a great place to start. And then like harder variation would be like one-arm push-up, weighted one-arm push-up. And if you adjust just the position of your hands, you can make it very, very, very difficult.
No doubt.
So that's the idea of progressive calisthenics. And it's one of these things that when you explain, I think this is why some people like latch onto it, because it makes sense. You're like, why wasn't it taught this way from the very beginning? Right. So you think of the push-up, a famous exercise, the sit-up, a famous exercise. All of these things kind of have a weight already built in. So like, and it's like another thing people know about is like the bench press. So I'm going to use that as an example, or bicep curl, but gym exercises. Like when you go into the gym and you notice these barbells, the plates can be taken off. They can be adjusted. So you can make a barbell, just a bar, 45 pounds, or 10 pounds for some bars, or you can add on like 45, 90 pounds. You can add on weight. You can change the weight. Unless you're in prison, the weights are usually not welded on. I think they are welded on in some prisons. Okay. But that's kind of what we're doing with the push-up. It's like, well, if you can't do a push-up, you just can't do it. Okay. It's like saying if you can't bench press 135 pounds, you just can't do it. Or like my favorite thing is like, here's a barbell of 135 pounds. You hand it to like a 9-year-old person. It's like, yeah, you just keep trying until you can do this. Just keep trying, and then it's like squishing their neck, like it's like, keep trying.
Yes.
You got it. It's like, wouldn't it make more sense to start with something you can do and work your way up as you get stronger? Yes, of course. And for some
Aggressive,
people,
man. Yes.
yeah, for some people that's a wall push-up. For some people that's I like starting from early on because you can really, really hone in your technique when you do that and really feel the pushing motion. But some people that's a regular push-up, incline push-up, one-arm push-up, and you just work your way up. So that's the idea of progressive calisthenics: is you can progress and regress just about any movement.
Let's move back to your origins for a second. Did you find fitness, or did fitness find you?
I wish I had a more philosophical answer, but this is probably the one I can answer in the most short form way. I was raised around a lot of people who were into fitness and into martial arts, and martial arts is kind of tied into bodyweight fitness until fairly recently. I feel like even nowadays you go to gyms and martial arts schools where they think that weightlifting will slow you down and make you muscle bound. And I have some pushback against that, where I say not necessarily. It can, but so can calisthenics. You know, like depending on how you train it. So I think I was raised around a lot of people who were into that, so I was always introduced to it at a young age. So like push-ups, pull-ups, things like that, very early on, and it's just like being physically fit and active. Just was something that always stuck with me when I was a kid.
All right, man. As we see technology progress, society and people start to live a more sedentary lifestyle, where do you see calisthenics and fitness moving towards in the future?
Fitness, just like everything else, is always going to trend towards convenience. So I think there is convenience, but also optimization. It really depends on what kind of person you are and what kind of mental state you're currently at in your life. But things in general are going to trend towards convenience and optimization. So as fitness, I think it will always play a role in our society. But if there was somehow a very easy way where everyone can get fit, you know, in the most efficient time, in a way that's most convenient to them, even slightly more convenient. Okay, like for example, if everyone knows, like, for example, a social media site like Facebook or Twitter, they have browser versions. But who uses the browser version on their phone? Use the app, right? It's slightly more convenient. So like that's how much we're dialing it in. So the fitness modality that will capture the most attention over time will have elements of both convenience and optimization. Especially with fitness, optimization will play a key role. In social media, it's really more, it's about both, but it's convenience will dominate, I think. But fitness, people want they want to know that the thing they're following is sound and that it's getting like no one wants to feel like they're wasting their time, right? If you spend like thousands of hours running and they're like, yeah, that's not the best way to lose weight, people, you know, if they don't like it, they feel a little robbed. So enjoyment, optimization, and convenience are all going to play a role. I think there's a chance that calisthenics has a, not that it's dying out or anything, but I think it might surge in popularity at some point if the right things are in motion. People are like, you know what, this is a way I can get healthy, fit, and strong at home. But I don't know. You know, it's like there are like, this is indeed a pretty deep question if we want to make it a deep question, because like for me, my life trends towards minimalism and simplicity and authenticity. It's just in general, my life, like the way I dress, you know, just jeans, shirt, tank top, flip flops. As I find myself more comfortable with myself, I'm more okay with things being simple and minimalist. There are some people who might take, so like for me, it'd be like, oh yeah, so I would like the idea that we trend towards calisthenics in fitness overall. Or I'm pretty neutral about it. It's whatever works best for people. I don't own calisthenics. I don't get a royalty every time someone does a push up. It'd
be great.
That would certainly change my life. But there are some people who take the opposite approach. Some entrepreneurs will be like, no, actually, the answer is my new device that's only $500 or 10 payments of like $49.99.
Call now in the next 5 minutes.
Right. Well, and even that, like I say that almost a little bit mockingly, but I don't want to make fun of it. Like they have the right to sell that. Sometimes it's a good product. Like oftentimes it's a good product. Like more advancement, more complexity is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And the other end is more simplicity is the answer. And it's hard to say where it'll go. That's where I'll end.
Great insight there. Now, as a long hair advocate myself, I got to ask you about your hair. What got you on your long hair journey?
I started early 2015, I think January. That was when my hair was the shortest, and it's been growing out since then. So I went through most of my life with like mid-length hair, which looking back, I realized wasn't great for me because a lot of it was centered around like me only wanting to cut it every few months. Like I would like some people cut it every 2 weeks. I just never could. I just never could justify that. Right? It wasn't convenient enough for me. I didn't have the calisthenics of hair care. And well, no, this is like it's like I want to do other stuff. Not to say like grooming isn't important, but I just want to do other stuff. And so I was in college at the time, and didn't have the person who usually cuts my hair, which it took a while for me to find someone I liked that cut my hair because I always had this vibe, like separate topic. I always had this vibe that some of them just didn't like me. Like I guess they thought I was weird because I didn't cut my hair as often as their other clients. Mm-hmm. I always had that vibe. I definitely did back when my hair was mid-length, and I would get a cut every once in a while. But it was a new person, and it was this young college girl, and she was really excited. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna cut your hair. It's gonna look so good." I'm like, "Okay, so this is what I usually do." And then it's like I usually take a few inches off, and it's mid-length. She's like, "All right, that's good." Like I don't know what I said, and and this is early 2015. So if she's out there, she reaches out. I like to say hi to her, but she just like. I don't know if she just didn't hear it or what, but she went, and I wasn't bald. Okay,
Dude.
But my hair it was about like half an inch on the sides, and like she left a little bit on longer on top. That was a trend back then. I think it still kind of is, but back then it was like really a trend to have like short on the sides and long on the top. And I was like, huh, okay, and I'm not someone who gets upset at my service. I don't like doing it unless it's like really bothering me. So I was like, she was just really excited. She's like, "Oh, this is gonna look so good. It's gonna look so good." I'm like, well, she's excited. So I was like, "Go ahead, carry on." And it was pretty short. It was pretty short for a while. And that's around the time where my friend and I wanted to do some music together. And so he was my friend and producer, and we were going to record a couple albums and sell it. And translate some songs to Chinese and actually sell it overseas. Which nowadays, if I did that, I feel like it would at least get some attention, and it'd be a lot of fun. We'll have to look into that. But I prefer singing in English. I prefer English songs personally, because I grew up in America.
Native speaker, yeah, makes sense.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And he said you should grow out your hair because it's like he came from like 70s, 80s culture to where it's like musicians grew out their hair. I was like. And at the time, I was like, I always wanted a point in my life where I grew out my hair. I just wanted to experiment with it, at least for a little while. So I was like,
absolutely.
Okay. And he said, it'll make you more unique. And I'm like, all right, we'll do it.
Authenticity right there, man.
Right. Well, I mean, at the time, I don't know if it was more like experimentation. But I started growing it out. My hair grows pretty quickly. So in 2016, when I did a study abroad in Germany, it was around the time where it was getting longer than it usually was, but it not enough to where I can always tie it back easily. So I had to wear hats and stuff. But we can fast forward a few years. I didn't end up doing music for a living. I still really like music, but it's not something I'm living right now. And I have long hair, and because I started doing content around the time I had long hair, I think it's become associated with my brand a little bit. And I do kind of like it, like for the simplicity of it, because while it's interesting, long hair has kind of the connotation of like in quotes for people who are podcast listeners, pretty boys, right? Or people who are vain. I mean, not everyone, obviously. I have long hair, but I recognize there's a little bit of a connotation behind like people who care about appearance more. Right. I don't know if anyone's played Stardew Valley, but the character Elliot, the guy, has long hair, right? And he's kind of like he's into his looks, which is totally fine if that's how you are. But for me, it was actually more about minimalism, because back when I had short or mid-length hair, I had to cut it more often. Okay, and I had to like my hair goes right into my eyes. Like I can't just comb it. Like even like hair glue barely parted it. Okay, so I was like Nowadays I wake up, hair tie, done. Okay, and I'm just working. This is how it usually is. I have it up in a ponytail. For me, that's more minimalist because I don't have to care about my hair as much. But for me, I recognize different people have long hair for different reasons. And nowadays I grow it out, and every year or so I get it cut, 11 or 12 inches, and I donate it to charity. Wigs for Kids is my usual go-to.
Speaking of charity and hair donation, have you heard of the Great Cut?
I have not. Tell me about it.
It's a massive charity haircutting event benefiting children with hair loss.
Okay.
In 2019, we set a record for the most hair donated in 24 hours. And so,
Nice.
so the next one is coming up real soon in 2024. We don't expect you to be there, but we are extending our invite to you.
Send me info on that, and we'll see.
All right. Where else can we find you if we haven't seen you through every nook and cranny on these internet streets?
Whatever social media, I try to be whatever is most convenient for people. That's where I'm.
Yeah.
That's why I try to be everywhere, including Pinterest. Right? It's like probably hybrid calisthenics. If you type into Google, you don't have to spell it correctly. It'll autocorrect you. It's on pretty much any social media platform. Most notably YouTube, probably. Just I posted my content in a lot of places. YouTube seems to have gotten slightly more traction, possibly because of the culture there of like comedy mixed with fitness, mixed with self-improvement. So there's that. I have a podcast, which it used to just be called the Hybrid Calisthenics Podcast. But I'm rebranding Coffee with Hampton, which it's been known as for a while, like even just like an AKA. So that's where I'll be talking and expanding more in 2023 and beyond about topics of self-improvement and just mental stuff. Like as we navigate through life, how we can approach things like forgiveness or reconciling anger, or even things like making friends. So these are different topics I like to talk about while I drink a cup of coffee. And I like to imagine some people are drinking coffee or their beverage of choice on the other end. So that's that. Hybrid Calisthenics and Coffee with Hampton. That's where I'm usually at, and I hope to be there for a while.
Coffee is on the hybrid train.
So I think there's going to be a running joke where I like anything I start, it's going to be hybrid in the name. So hybrid coffee, hybrid routine.
I'm telling you, man, you already own it now, man. That's
right. Hybrid gaming. Yeah. So I started a channel called Hybrid Gaming where I play Pokemon, and there was another channel called Hybrid Gaming. I was like, we're gonna be hybrid gaming too. It's hard to find a completely original name anywhere. But for example, I was looking into the term hybrid nation for a while, and at the time we were getting some social media traction, so we could have owned that, but I think a clothing company wanted it, so I was like, we'll change it to something else, and this ended up not being something I used anyway, so it's all right.
Wow, great, magnificent show today, brother. Thanks for rolling through today.
Thanks for
dude.
we're recording this on a Friday, and I have a cup of coffee. It's like I drink coffee every other day, and it was just enjoyable time listening and chatting with you. It was very chill.
Wanted to plug in your new book again, also titled Hybrid Calisthenics.
Yes, and Hybrid Calisthenics, get healthy, fit, and strong with just your body and gravity is the subtitle on that. So that should be coming out mid-February. We have a limited batch, which I feel so salesy saying, but it's a limited batch because I didn't have the funds at the time to buy like a huge batch. So like it's a limited batch. It's gonna be. I'll be sending out a pre-order today.
Right.
Hopefully, we'll be in regular stock by mid-February.
Get your copy today.
We'll see.
Well, that about does it for us today. We'll see you here next time on the Let It Ride podcast.